And welcome to the Talon Outdoor Show. What are you smiling at? I'm Charlie.
I'm JD.
I'm Fred.
I'm Dennis, DT.
And I'm Grant.
Grant. We have a new voice, and hey, say hey,
Captain
Paul.
Paul.
Hey, everybody.
We Captain Paul's sitting over there in the green room, which is kind of the tan extension. We're not sophisticated. We don't really have a green room. We have a over there on the couch.
It's the casting couch.
That thing reclines, Paul. You feel free to take a nap.
He don't want to miss nothing.
He looks comfortable.
Hey, gum.
I'll tell you, you must have given it to me because I have been living on NyQuil the last 2 or 3 nights. I got some
Really?
some
No,
kind of
I didn't have a cough
creeping
until I walked
corruption
in
going
here.
on.
I walked in here, and all of a sudden I had a cough.
I might have given it to you then today.
Dadgummit. Quit that. So, Fred, you follow the golfing world. Wasn't there some news? I woke up to some news this morning and kind of tickled me a little bit.
Yeah, old Scotty apparently got confused about where he's supposed to go around the traffic. There was an accident at the PGA Championship up in Kentucky.
It's a fatality.
Guy died, and I guess they had traffic.
That's usually what a fatality
Yeah, that's
is.
usually what happens when that.
That's how that works.
Yeah,
There's probably some Fred Conrad Esquire business cards all over the scene up there.
I tried to get there.
Drone drop.
Yep. Put the drone in there this morning when I heard. And so he was going, and I guess he got confused as to where he's supposed to go, and a cop attached himself to the car, is the way the story reads.
Oh, wow.
Started yelling and screaming at him, and he got out of the car like, whoa, 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 and they slammed him upside the car and hauled him to jail. Booked him for assault on the cop, which I don't think is going to stand.
Well, unless he tried to run over him. I mean, if the cop attached himself to the car as he went by, and then they said, well, he assaulted me. They said it was like 10 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
It's kind of like falling on the knife, you know.
Well, you can
Hey, I
tell the
worked
radio.
one of them cases. How'd he get that knife in his back? I fell on it. No.
15 times.
Literally, you can tell the show started. That dog got off of the couch, walked over here under the table, farted on us
Again.
and went back.
What is it?
See, right underneath you, Fred. Is there? Okay,
All right. I'm glad I'm stopped up.
man. Well, that's a way to start off the show.
Wow.
All right, so Dennis. All right, folks.
Golly.
Now y'all were.
Yeah.
I want to get in something serious, but it's kind of hard to do when you can't breathe.
It worked its way.
She didn't do that all the way over today. We drove an hour to get here, and I didn't smell a thing. And she's well, we found a way to keep Fred quiet for a little while. So let's move on to something. Do you need some fresh air?
All right.
You need to go. No. I've seen that look before. You need to go outside, brother. Woo.
Well, it was a dead bird in a bird fountain, and I mean, it had me down for about 30 minutes. And
Dead bird.
I mean, he'd write it up.
Dennis, you remember that story you was telling us about that stinky stuff?
Oh, yeah.
This is the man right here.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, wow.
Do you have a source? Do you have a source for that stinky spray stuff?
I can probably arrange to get some.
Well-
for him, yeah. But right now he's not looking too.
If I need to pay you in advance, I will happily do that to get.
Oh, you
to
want
get
to
some
carry him
stinky
outside?
Yeah.
Pat him on the back.
Oh Lord.
Okay, let's change the subject, and then we'll get off of that.
Speaking
'cause I don't think-
of the whole thing in Kentucky up there, I was watching I was mildly paying attention to some TV show on the Caught. Have you ever seen that show? Caught. It's video clips from all over, and it can be. I mean, they had guys skydiving and all that stuff, and they did one with a drone. And it was a teenage boy that had him a drone in some city somewhere, and there was some girl sunbathing on the roof of a building with no clothes on.
Uh-huh.
And he flew that drone over there, and she happened to, I guess he got close enough to wake her up with it, and she run over and grabbed the broom. Grabbed the broom, so you get a video of her chasing the drone around with the broom, trying to hit it and hold a towel.
With a broom.
Well, she was holding her something over herself and swinging the broom. That was funny as all get.
Yeah. Did she have any tan lines?
I thought of you, Fred.
I'm sure you did.
I didn't. I mean, they had it all blurred out and everything. I couldn't tell, but had it all blurred out and everything. But I immediately thought of Fred with his drone, and you know,
That's why I got it.
that's valid, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as you don't. Well, you know, the law in Florida is if you record, someone in a place where they have an expectation of privacy.
You got problems.
You got problems.
But if you're looking at it live,
Yeah, you can look at it live all day long. Which what I do.
you're a sick little man.
Lord.
A neighbor built a pool. I got a drone.
All right, so we've got some serious stuff we need to cover in this week's show. So so silly stories and jokes and stuff, they're going to happen. But I want to focus. Last week's show we were talking about a tragedy that occurred here in our region. And if you want to know the details, go back to that show, look on the internet, you can look at all that stuff. But JD and I and Paul and Grant, and we were missing Fred. And I wish you'd have been here for that show. But we're talking about the need for better law enforcement training, better civilian training. And on that, we talk about situational-based, scenario-based, anything from force on force, but less force on force and more situational based training. Because in our classes, if you've been to our training at Talon, if you're in the tens of thousands of people that have been through our basic entry level training, you have been through either back in the beginning you went through force on force with airsoft, where we did situations and talked about when you could and could not use deadly force and what was the appropriate level of force and the legalities involved. And we moved on. After a while, we found a really cool machine at one of the SHOT shows called Lasershot. And Lasershot, which is now Lasershot Simulations, correct?
Correct, yes, sir.
Is a company. And we watched that company evolve from their first machines to the point where it got really cool, but we weren't ready to take the step to the next level, make a financial commitment to do this and upgrade. And we've looked at other systems over the years, but Lasershot is the one we're most familiar with. And that machine in our classroom has situations, has video-based stuff where it's like a big video game, but it's videos of real people doing scenarios, and they branch. And when you shoot the screen, it scores the hit. It shows where the hit was. There's zones that will make the person in the video fall down. And it's very, very expansive. And the value of that to us over the years has been that we can tell you what the law says, and then we can put you in situations and scenarios, and we can see if you can apply the law to the real world with a little bit of stress inoculation, because we talk about critical incident stress. We talk about the importance of stress inoculation. We do it through peer pressure and scenarios. And in all that, we've started to watch the technology evolve. And in the last week's conversation, we decided to delve off into it a little bit deeper. And so we had Dennis Taylor, DT, come in and talk to us about their newest equipment. It just happened that you were actually reaching out to us the same time we were considering this.
Sure, yes, sir. And
we are in the process now. We are going to commit today to upgrade our system to the newest, coolest stuff. Maybe not the state, not the. We're not fixing to drop $100,000 or anything, but we're getting into the coolest stuff going. And Dennis, in the time we got left, and we're going to have you for the next couple segments, but yes. Tell us a little bit about your involvement in your industry.
Yeah, absolutely. First and foremost, I want to thank y'all for having me at the show today. And this is a very important situation. So I want to cover it, and want to tell you a little bit about simulations. I want to tell you about high risk, highly probable situations based on the scenario that you're going to have in your interaction. And we were lucky enough to come out yesterday and meet with Charlie and JD, and I think they're impressed. And we'll take a deeper dive in that a little bit later. But definitely something interesting for law enforcement, for next-level shooters. And, I'm really excited about it.
So your background is in corrections and law enforcement and training and in different industries, and you've managed and been part of this stuff over time. And when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about your background and what we're going to be doing with you guys and what you guys offer as a product. Because I got to tell you, Lasershot is like the coolest thing going. I mean, I love using that stuff to train. And so we'll be back in just a minute. Yes. And we're back. So when we left, we were talking to Dennis Taylor. I've been calling you Dennis, but everybody you work with knows you
Everybody
by
calls
DT.
me DT. That's how I'm known. I mean, over 20 years of high liability instruction, master instructor in many things.
DT?
You know, that's what everybody calls me.
He
DT.
probably did some DT training
I
too.
was very passionate about
I lean
defensive
to something
tactics.
a little bit different
So
in my business, but-
you were with what agencies you worked with? over the
Well, I
years?
started off way back in the day. I want to say it was around '87 with the Department of State under Jim Smith. Got a real base knowledge of private investigations, CJSTC, understanding of rap sheets and so forth for concealed carry applications and folks that would apply for applications. And I did that screening process for approval or disapproval. From there, I went over to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement under, I think it was, Tim Moore at the time. He was the commissioner.
Yep.
And so I served there 5 years with professionalism, and we did the state of Florida law enforcement correctional probation examination. For everyone that went through the academy, they had to take that state exam, which was implemented way back in July, I want to say, of 1993, I believe it was, when it rolled out.
Oh, no, never had to take
been
it.
years.
That was
Been
after
years.
me. I did have to go back and
Post-me.
take it last year
Right.
to get my standards back. Yeah, I scored
So
a
it's-
97 on it.
Yep, it's still in
I
standard.
should have
Out of
studied.
200 or?
Huh?
Out of 200?
No. Well, you spend 25, 30 years in the business, you kind of learn the material. Anyway,
Yeah, absolutely.
So, sorry, I
and then,
digress.
And then I went over to the Florida Department of Corrections under Secretary Singletary was appointed there, and oversaw their training. We had 26,000 employees, 19,000 certified law enforcement, correction, probation. I served my time there almost 20 years for a total of 30 years. I retired in 2015. Went over, actually had no plan, thought about just digging a hole, maybe a lawn service or something, and I got a call from ALS Amtech out of Perry, Florida, and they asked me to step up and run their range facility over there, which was absolutely, an opportunity.
That's like a crazy place, though. That's a heck of an opportunity. That's
Very
great.
nice.
I remember hearing about all that
Right.
back in the day. I didn't know you really got. That's awesome.
Yeah, and so I ran that, and I built almost 17 agencies over there that would come over and do anything from high liability training, long distance, 1 mile shooting, to 600 meters to 100 yards, 225s. We had a full jail cell that we could bang, flood, OC. Became a master instructor with my background over there with chemical munitions. The company then sold, I want to say it was around 2017, 18, and a company came in, Pace Defense International, and we went into the 430 high explosives. And we did a lot of testing and evaluation out there. And basically,
How'd you end up
sold
with
it.
Lasershot?
Well, that's interesting too. So in 2021, I retired again, and I was sitting on my dock fishing, and I had a phone call from Lasershot, and a young man named Paige Menard, which was the CEO of Lasershot, and he said, asked me what I was doing. Told him I was fishing, and he asked me to come over to Panama City over there to the Air Force Base and to look at a Connex that we dropped, and we do live fire training. It was 4 lanes, elevated platform for range master, and just state of the art live fire stuff. And I was like, wow, because I'm like you, Charlie. I had always had the Lasershot Simulations since 2005 and had that experience, but I had no idea how large Lasershot was and what the capability was. So I was at awe, and then I flew to Texas and started off as a 1099. And basically, they had talked me into going full-time with them, and got into sales shortly after, and just boom.
So the other day you were talking about going to Japan, going overseas, doing all kinds of stuff. Lasershot's gotten big.
Lasershot is very big. Just to touch briefly on that is we have a commercial market, we have a law enforcement market, we have a military market, we have an international market, and then we have that live fire market as well. So we've got a large
awesome
print. Yes.
So our world, where we live, is about primarily scenario-based training. So
Yes.
talk a little bit about what Lasershot has to offer in the scenario-based world.
Okay, in the scenario-based world, they've been known as related to scenarios in interaction with law enforcement in high liability, highly probable, high-risk situations where officers interact with the system and they have to make a decision based on the way back of the use of force matrix to where we are now with the totality of circumstances. And those totality of circumstances, as we know, based on all the factors, has the officer having to make that independent decision making within split seconds. And that's the part a lot of the general public don't understand. They have to take their training, their scenario-based training that they've experienced, and put all that in an application to formulate the right response. And this training through Lasershot allows you to experience that through stress inoculation, understanding, and then going back and saying, okay, hey, Charlie, right now what I want you to do is write this report out of the who, what, when, where, why, and how, and then be able to articulate and see what they saw, what they heard, what the command presence was, if there was any at all, and then you can go back and replay that scenario to capture what the officer actually performed, what they did. And so that's the strongest criticism that one could receive, to understand what they wrote and what they thought they did but didn't do, but then also understand with the instructor, understanding, hey, here's what you actually did. And so that playback and that experience is really enhancing officers as related to.
So most law enforcement officers, now state of Florida does in fact mandate scenario-based training or situational-based training or decision-based training. I forget how they phrase it with CJSTC, but it is required.
It is.
But most of us know that most agencies that don't have the resources, don't have the training staff, don't have the level of instructors or the ability to maintain that, end up shoot the white target instead of the black target downrange, and they say, okay, that was decision-based training. They shot the correct target. That happens. I know it happens.
It does.
I've seen it happen.
I've actually done that, yes.
Yes, and so there's ways around that, which I think shortchanges the process, the spirit of those rules and that law. And the problem is that most agencies don't have the level of instructor, the people with the experience, the training, and the equipment to do it with. And so kind of what we were doing here is looking for the next level of equipment so that we might be able to provide that to those agencies that can afford it. That's, on our part is Talon training. Lasershot. So Lasershot primarily provides the tools.
Yes,
and the familiarization with those tools, and then allows agencies to build out their own training and stuff like that.
True. Yeah, to that point, I mean, with JTS, you have JTS Editor, which allows the
what does JTS stand for?
It's Judgmental Training System.
Okay,
so it allows the officers, the agency, to build their content based on their specific need, whether they want to deploy, their SOPs, standard operation procedures, or their policies within that, and they keep that content with them. We provide the training to do that, and we also train them how to do the video production and so forth. Now, Lasershot's big on partnerships. They're big on relationships as related to, and I think JD and I were talking a little bit yesterday, and you as well, about partnerships that want to do that based on specific needs and share that, and we're all about that, and it's a wash. It helps you, it helps me, and it's a crawl, walk, run process. So we really like those types of processes. We have one down in Santa Fe College where Director Tom Ackerman kind of oversees that college down there. We have 5 systems, and it's sort of like a satellite site for Lasershot. And we work with subject matter experts, uniformed officers that go through those hypothetical high-risk situations with different outcomes, different branching, and it works really well. And then we roll that content out based on those, somewhat objectives driven, but we stay away from SOPs and PPDs,
right,
if that makes sense.
Well, if you get in SOPs, things like policies, specific stuff, it's hard for you to offer a platform that does that. Yes. But you give a tool to the agency so they can work within their own SOPs. Right. Their people can instruct that. The same thing when we're teaching. I go out and do an active shooter course for a association for the state of Florida or something. I don't get into their SOPs or procedures, their emergency action plan. If they tell me about it, we'll discuss it. But primarily, we're covering the 10,000-foot view stuff and then look around and pick out some specifics. You go to an agency to train, maybe they don't have tasers, or maybe they don't have pepper spray, or maybe they don't, but
Correct.
So what I like about your tool is you have the capability to actually turn the lights off in scenarios and force them to use a flashlight to illuminate the scene.
Yes, sir.
You can use AR-15s, your M4s type stuff. You can use, there are shotguns. You've got, SIG pistol, the 320 series pistol, and the Glocks that will work in holsters, so that they're using their duty gear.
Right.
If you want to go all the way, you can put your tasers in their hands, or they can use their agency tasers in a mode where they're not actually firing a cartridge at their screen unless they absolutely want to.
Right.
And you can steer this with the tablet that you're working off.
Sure.
And you can, if they give verbal commands, you can force the video will branch to compliance, or let it play out, and it's beyond the machine. I think the real value is because a good instructor needs tools.
Absolutely.
And you're providing the best tool that I've seen for really good instructors.
Yes.
And so instructors are always looking for, if I could make it do this, if I make it do this, and you guys have done a really good job of providing that to the instructors. But you still need the instructor, because you can run scenarios and go, okay, you ran it, you shot the guy, and then you just let them walk off. And that's not scenario-based training. You're not providing feedback. You're not working with them to help adjust their thinking. You're not talking about stress dynamics, and you're not discussing, okay, tunnel vision, auditory exclusion, all the things that Colonel Grossman talks about, and how our brains work under stress. There is so much to it. And as JD and I have been training people for a long time, and to have a tool that actually helps us teach that material is awesome, man. We'll be back in just a minute with more. And we're back. So, digressing from our Lasershot scenario-based training discussion just for a minute, because this is our bottom of the hour Wiregrass live segment that anybody can stream. But anyway, so I'm getting back into farming a little bit, and I'm trying to plant some pasture. And I talked to my uncle. He said, "Well, don't mow all that pasture, just spray it." And I don't have a sprayer. And I went shopping in Dothan the other day, and I told John Hollis I'd give him a shout out at Ag Spray. I went up there to buy.
Now you have a sprayer.
Well, I went up there to buy a sprayer, and he said they started showing me some pictures of some sprayers, and I said, That's the pull behind. That's like crazy complicated. I just want a little 3-point hitch thing, and he told me what it cost, and I said, JD and I, we own the Talon range. Oh yeah, heard. Next thing you know, I said, we have one of those like that. He goes, well, go get it and bring it up here. So I drove it back up there, and he goes, that's a dust control unit. Dan put that thing on the range to water grass with. Well, the grass has been growing. That thing's been sitting there for years. And he said, if you just let me turn that into a boomless sprayer for you. And, man, they went in there, and they sell all the parts. They can do all kinds of crazy stuff in there. And so shout out to Ag Spray, John Hollis and his folks for putting together a really nice rig for a reasonable amount of money, saved a lot of money. And so now Dry Creek Farms pastures will be sprayed by Ag Spray equipment right there just off of the circle in Dothan.
Growing grass.
What's that?
You growing grass.
I'm going to be growing grass.
Fred, he might need your services.
I think he might.
Hey, listen, if they made that and that was the way to make money, then I would be renting some land down the road where I couldn't smell
Well,
it.
you just call me if you need to burn the property.
Yep, just call me.
No, now I got to figure out whether I'm going to plant Pensacola, TIF 9, Argentine, or TIF Quick. Now it's the variety. Now it's the variety game.
If you grow Bahia, any strain of Bahia grass, don't expect me to come visit.
So when the world ends, the game plan is for JD to come over there so we can defend the perimeter and shoot anybody that comes in and tries to take. But the problem is now it's going to be surrounded by hundreds of acres of the one grass he's allergic to. So
man, I am so allergic to Bahia grass. When I was a deputy sheriff, occasionally you had to drive in places that had knee-high Bahia grass go. When that stuff forks out and blooms, I've had to go home from work because I had to drive across the interstate median through the Bahia grass.
Really?
And get in the car with me, and it just it will literally close my eyes, swell my eyes shut.
You don't carry your EpiPen?
Wow. No, I had never had to have an EpiPen. It usually about three Benadryl will take care of it. Yeah. But then I'm asleep for 16 hours.
I've never laughed at JD's medical situations, like when he got the cramp in South Dakota.
Yes, you did. You laughed.
I got an EpiPen. I carry around. I get allergic reaction stuff. Nobody knows what it is. But it happened one year on Christmas Eve. I got an allergic reaction, and I didn't want to shoot myself with that thing because they hurt.
Yeah.
My mother-in-law's a nurse, so I gave it to her to shoot at.
She had turned
around the wrong way and shot herself with that EpiPen.
Oh my gosh!
And she didn't go to sleep until New Year's Eve. I
mean, did you ever get a shot?
I had to go back. I was at my dad's house. I had to ride back to my house to go get another EpiPen and shoot myself. And
what was you allergic to?
Nobody knows. I get these reactions every now and then. For
GSP fart?
Yeah, it could be.
Oh boy.
It's just
if I could bottle that and send it to Fred as a Christmas gift,
you might have something there.
If you could bottle that, we probably could sell it to somebody.
Yeah.
That would. Well, apparently they do make it in a can somewhere.
Yeah.
I've seen that. You can buy it at like Spencer's.
Yeah.
What's that stuff called?
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's not good on that back end, but it's nasty.
Rear end.
Yeah, jazz.
They make some stuff to keep deer off.
Nasty rear ends.
Right. That's it.
They make stuff to keep deer off of your plants. It's called liquid fence.
Yes, I've used it. It works.
Let me tell you what.
Boiled rotten eggs.
Well, there we go. That's all I needed to know, Fred. Right there. That's that reaction.
Sprayed the roses the other day, and yakking in the backyard.
So any prosecutor out there that's going to be facing Fred in court, just know what you need to have in the courtroom.
It's awful smelling.
We'll be back in just a minute. And we're back. So when we discontinued our conversation about situational-based training, and we were talking a little bit about the different weapon systems that are available with Lasershot, but it's not just whether to shoot somebody or not. It's about de-escalation, which is one of the things that's mandatory now in a lot of law enforcement training is de-escalation training, and it's a way to do that. And you can steer these scenarios. Also, it's about less lethal weapons, things that don't involve you actually using deadly force, and here's one of the advantages that I see of using this over scenario-based training where it's force on force or using simunitions, which is an awesome tool for like active shooter drills and things like that. They hurt, and it is really, you want to talk about stress inoculation. You start doing simunitions and things, any of that stuff where it's really, it puts a whelp on you. That's real true stress inoculation, but handled properly, the scenario-based training with a machine like Lasershot is that I don't have to have a safety officer lined up at the door patting everybody down. I don't have to keep everybody in a room, with no weapons, no ammunition. I don't have to have multiple role players involved. It is a major production, even to do like a flashcard type scenarios where you just turn around and you see something and you engage and then you go on and move to the next person. With this, you're able to bring people in. You can put everybody in a room, or you can put one or two people in a room and observe. A little peer pressure, a little stress, and you can run these and you can go back and see where they hit, what they did, debrief, run it again exactly as it was the first time, see if they can do it better this time, branch it off, turn it into something else. They say, well, that guy's pulling a pistol. No, he's pulling a cell phone. So there's a lot of things that you can do. But on less lethal, and how would you use this for like de-escalation training?
So, I mean, again, there's all kind of hypothetical high-risk situations where they may show up in the scenario as a domestic violence situation where the guy's got a weapon, and he releases the hostage, but then he takes the weapon and puts it on himself and, he's looking for suicide by cop, et cetera. But you show up with a 40-millimeter round possibly, or a 12-gauge, 12-12T, or a react round. And there's an opportunity presents itself that you could possibly utilize that impact weapon to de-escalate that situation from it being a deadly force encounter or strong verbal commands. So we try to provide those tools to the agency based on the scenarios, based on their specific need, and we make those available. So the agency could buy the 40 millimeter from us, or they could buy the actual 40 millimeter round. The shotgun, with the different bore thunders versus the sound that we experienced yesterday a little bit with JD and the team. We had the gunshot box, which also does that self-inoculation.
I think it'll get you.
It will. It'll really change that physiological response.
I mean, it sounds like a gunshot.
It does.
I mean, it does.
Oh, so you shoot the gun and
you push a button.
They
Well,
found
it
out
can
what
be wired to the
they
machine.
found out yesterday what happens when gunshots start going off around me.
Sure.
Yeah, we got JD. I forgot. That probably wasn't a good idea. Almost got drawn down on.
Yeah, that muscle memory
Oops.
kicks in.
It does.
That
It
training.
does. It does. I knew it was happening. You said, "I'm gonna fire this thing. Be careful," and set it off, and it still it tweaked a couple of nerves I got in that regard.
what
But
it's doing is simulating somebody shooting at you.
It sounds like a gunshot right
does.
there
It's
in
in
the
the room with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Boom, and there's flash and sound, and it's very realistic. I mean,
It's another tool. Yes.
for active shooter drills. Even if you weren't using it with laser shot, if you were doing like active shooter drills with
Absolutely.
simunitions,
Absolutely.
you could have that and simulate bang, 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 and then now you're going to that active shooter that instead of having to fire blanks and do things like that. And there's so many different ways you can use these tools. And it brings me back to a point that I wanted to make before we close out is it's having a tool is one thing. It's like going to a mechanic. He's got a good set of tools, but he's never a mechanic before.
Right.
Okay, or he kind of shade tree mechanics, and you're wanting him to work on your electric car, and that ain't what he's used to working on. That's having the right instructor, having the people who have experience, one, experience in doing the job, two, experience in training this stuff and understanding the scenarios and the different way, the entire gamut of use of force, from arrival on scene to how to de-escalate, how to talk to people, professionalism, using the correct professional, using the right phrases, how to use a command voice,
Yes.
How to do all these things, and then but we can take a scenario. It was a shoot or don't shoot scenario, or whether it branches or not. You can use it incorrectly and actually reinforce the idea that we're trying to get law enforcement to use less force only when necessary, absolutely necessary to save lives. Right. But if you use the scenarios incorrectly and you don't know what you're doing, you can actually encourage law enforcement officers to shoot faster. Because if you put them in a no-win situation and it's a quick draw contest, and that's all it is, it's the scenario is a quick draw contest. The minute he makes a furtive movement, it's all you can do to draw and shoot faster than that guy in the scenario does. If you put them in that, so you're actually encouraging officers to shoot faster when we really need to be encouraging officers to shoot with more discretion, more accurately.
More in control. But to be more in control, and they're not going into situations so amped up that.
Right.
I was talking with my stepmother last night and about a situation that occurred here we talked about in the last show, and she goes, "Well, those officers really need to go home, and that's the most important thing." And I said, "Yeah, but it's not. It's not. We swear we have a sworn duty to protect the public, and ourselves. Obviously, we want to go home. But the fact is that when we cannot put ourselves in a position where we go out and take lives when it's not justified. If a person, and I mentioned to her, I said, if you answer the door at night, you're going to do it with a gun in your hand? She said, probably. I said, so if a deputy comes here and shoots you, we would be very upset about that, and that would not be justified. She goes, well, I'm gonna say who is it, and I'm gonna stop at the door, and I want to make sure I know who it is before I open the door. And I said, exactly, yes. And the young man should have done that, but he didn't know who it was, and so there's a lot of things that could have happened. These are discussions that we have in scenario-based training. This is stuff that we talk about.
Well, and to your point, I'm going to say, when I came in yesterday and I spent some time talking with y'all, visiting with y'all, and you already having a laser shot, this is the place to get trained. I was thoroughly impressed. I called the CEO of the company, a Lasershot, and I said, they are doing something right here, and we need to be part of it. And but you're absolutely right, and to your points, and that's what we need to do. And Lasershot gives us that availability for that instructor that high liability instructor to work with their students to help them. So absolutely, 100% agree with what he's saying.
So what we're going to be doing here is as soon as we get our hands on this new system, we're going to go portable. We're going to go out in the world, I think, and if people want to bring, we've got good instructors here. People want us to come to their home. People want us to come to their agency. We now have a system, or have a system here very shortly. Our current system is portable. It's just portable-ish. It's got some years on it, and it takes a little while to set it up. I was really amazed at how quick it was for you to go in, take this thing out of a box, set it on the floor. Big screen, you can make it smaller depending on the wall size you have. It's steps ahead of the older system, the way it sets itself up, and I watch the software work, and it's very similar to the other one, but it's got some new features, and that's awesome.
Well, you figure the software improvement in 8 years. You think about the difference between our cell phone today and our cell phone 3 generations ago.
Great
I
point.
mean, the technology is amazing.
Well, it's one of the things that separated us from other people is you can go get a training class in a lot of different places, but here at our Midway facility in Tallahassee, all of our basic classes include this.
Well, there's a lot of people in the world that can teach you how to shoot well.
Right.
It's the difference is when to shoot, when not to shoot. How to. I mean, it's a whole different mindset than just shooting.
Yep. So we're rolling into this segment. We got our Paul Tire exclusive segment coming up after this, but don't go anywhere. But Dennis, I want to thank you for being on the show. We look forward to our continuing and ever-evolving partnership with Lasershot. This is going to be really cool. And in the last segment, we'll turn Fred loose to do his normal stuff. I just see him processing this thought. There's something going on in his head.
I'm wondering if they could do this thing where you could set it up where I could shoot a pheasant out from under you.
Yes.
We do that in South Dakota. That'll happen here in a few months.
Yeah. Well, thank y'all for having us. I really do.
Yes, sir. We'll be right back. And we're back. So again, if you're tuning in late, go back and stream our show from the beginning on YouTube, or if you don't want to see us, which I can understand, go back and catch us on iHeart or any of the streaming platforms, because Talon Outdoor Show is out there. It's easy to find us. What are you raising your hand for? Well, you don't have to raise.
I'm just.
Oh, you're raising your hand to get my attention. Hey.
No, I'm arthritis.
Man, my hands are killing me. I don't know what's going on.
Weather.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
I thought it was just the fact that I'm.
No,
if it'll stop raining. I mean, my fish feeder's almost completely underwater now.
Yeah. Lake Ammonia's still full.
Has anybody looked at Jackson lately?
I went by there yesterday. It's actually coming up a little bit.
Needs
a lot more water in it, though.
I mean, could you put an outboard motor right around in it right now?
Oh, yeah, just run the trails for sure.
Okay. What about jet ski? You can put that in?
Good luck.
Yeah, okay.
That's not a bad thing. Man, I remember when jet skis first came out on Lake Jackson. I used to fish Lake Jackson all the time, fish night tournaments and stuff. And you get out there trying to fish, and those jet skis are put in, and you're riding on there fishing a bank, fishing up against a grass line or something, or a lily pad line, and the jet skis are run between you and wherever you were fishing, and so we started tying rattle traps on something I could throw a long way with some treble hooks on it.
Take care of that.
Yeah, you whiz one by their ear. That's a good thing I never hit anybody with it, I guess.
Probably a good thing.
You been catching any fish, Paul?
I tell you, that have been biting pretty good. We got a full moon coming up this week. The mayflies are hatching on Lake Seminole, and I tell you what, but the lake's got a little dirty from all this daggum rain we've been getting.
It's ridiculous.
It's crazy. Your place is full. The Seminole's full pool, and I know we got muddy water coming down to Spring Creek and the Flint River arm of the lake and the Chattahoochee. So, but hopefully it'll clear up and those fish will keep on biting.
I did find a pair of shoes that I thought I'd get you the other day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What do you think of those?
No, sir. I see it now.
It's fish boots.
Fish. No, I think them are.
Well, they're high-heeled fish
them
boots.
Them are high heels. That must
they look like a bass.
That must be in Japan. You gotta I ain't never seen nothing like that now.
Well, I'm gonna wear it to the
You
club
sent
tonight.
that, and I thought maybe you were out shopping for yourself.
Yeah.
Your alter ego for the weekend.
I think they'd look good in a pair of fishnets with me.
You dress up and drag and wear those.
Yeah.
You'd actually almost be as tall as the next person.
Yeah,
So
what is that? About a 6-inch heel?
Probably a little more than
Maybe
that.
8.
it's gonna be hard to share what I got to share, but so, Paul took me and Allie fishing, and we tore up the shell cracker, and I was kind of sitting there thinking about the way we were fishing and the techniques we were using and all this stuff, and so I had Jim at Rod and Reel place in the building here. I had Jim build Paul a custom brim buster, if you will, and I got it leaned up in the corner over there. Let me see how I can figure out how to do this. Wrist real quick. Somebody talk while I'm doing this, but.
It's a hybrid
check
fly
that
rod.
out.
You hold that.
I got okay.
Golly, Charlie.
Watch the tip over there.
Oh yeah.
So-
Dadgum, what has it got 2 handles on it for?
Well,
In case
So-
you get a big fish.
so that is a 8-weight fly rod that breaks down into 4 pieces and goes into a little rod carrier. But it's about a 10-foot long brim pole now, and or shell cracker pole. But you can take that bottom section off when you're sitting on a brim bed, or sometimes you may change where you're fishing and you don't need a 10-foot pole anymore. You want an 8-foot
right.
pole. So that's the same. Basically, it keeps the same rig on, but you're making a shorter brim buster out of it, and instead of collapsing like a brim buster. But the big thing is this is an 8-weight fly rod, so it can handle. What you're more of a fly fisherman than I am. You could fish for tarpon with this.
Yeah, you could.
8-weight without a tarpon break. Tarpon's not going to break that 8-weight rod.
No, fly rods are designed
To bend a lot of
Yeah.
parabolic bend, but it's a lot of strength. So when you're catching 1.5 pound, 1
And get
3/4,
them out of that grass.
yeah, shell cracker down in a bunch of thick cover and grass. You've got enough heft. The rod has enough spine to lift a 1.5 fish with another pound and a half.
Him?
Yeah, you can hand it to
Okay.
him.
Well, you still told me to
Well,
hold
I
it.
tell you, now that is nice right there.
Yeah,
That being able to come
What's the
apart
tip,
like
Paul?
that, I've got it.
I know you're
Coming
not used to
apart
handling
like
those
that right
things.
there.
I mean,
'Cause how many times I've caught shell cracker right underneath the boat? I mean,
Yeah.
right there, and you're backing your rod up like this, trying to hold a 12-foot rod. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is.
I know what you mean,
that
because
is
that's
nice.
I
That's a-
designed this rod
that's
with
it.
Jim's
That
help
is-
over there and came up with that.
Man, I can't.
And that is it's got your name on it, and it's got a Bible verse on there, Matthew 4:19.
Matthew 4:19. I'll make you fishers of men. How about that? This. I thank you so much. Maybe
very
we'll
welcome.
we'll get out and test that this week, folks. We got a full moon coming up. You got the mayflies are out. They're and that means always when you see the mayflies, that means brimmer on the bed. So definitely brimmer bedding. Shell cracker. We should have some shell cracker bedding this week too. So now's a good time to get out and do some fishing.
And the bass start moving in to
right.
feed on the smaller panfish.
That's right. And right
what
now,
day is the full moon?
23rd, Thursday.
That's my anniversary.
That's a good day to go fishing.
I think so.
So,
Yes, sir.
or better known as your wife's day of mourning.
I was going to say, what does your wife refer to that day as?
I don't know, but I'll be out there howling. I'll tell you that.
But I tell you what, you get out there and
She's got a vacation plan without him that day.
There you go. But for the bass this week, if anybody's coming, throw some frogs right now. Hollow belly frogs, popping frogs around the grass, around the pepper grass beds. There's big
All right,
bass.
you talking about floating frogs?
Floating frogs. That's right.
All right.
You got to throw it with braided line, at
And
least 50-pound test. I like to use 65 myself, and a good 7'3" heavy action rod. It's got maybe a softer tip on it, but you can work that frog. But you got to have the backbone to get them out of the grass.
So I'm wondering if I threw a 6-weight fly rod with maybe a popper on it, popping frog.
That could work.
That'll work.
Yeah,
Right.
that could work.
Because got a lot of grass growing. Because with the water's coming up, and you can't mow the grass, and so you got a lot of grass coming in.
Yeah, that's right.
And you see them feeding around in that grass. Something feeding around in
Yeah,
there.
it's probably bass feeding on them brim.
Could be.
Yes, sir.
They need to be feeding on my lure.
That's right. You got to take some time to go out there. Maybe you can go this evening.
I think I might.
Because they got a front. We got weather coming in.
Right before front is
Right before
always
front.
really good.
They'd be biting.
Think they'd be biting tonight?
They could. If I wasn't going to graduation, I'd come out there. And,
You graduating?
nope, my daughter is.
Oh, okay. Congratulations.
Sorry. Proud of her.
Where's she graduating from?
Thomasville.
Thomasville.
Yep.
Awesome.
So we'll be going to that this evening.
Congratulations to her.
Yes, sir.
Did you get her a new fishing rod for graduation?
I sure did.
I wouldn't expect anything less.
Thank you.
We got all of that fun stuff going on in Leon County next week.
Yep.
I was telling Paul, I don't know, with all the tornadoes and stuff coming through, and they've had to miss a couple days of school and make up some stuff and whatever. But yeah, Tater graduates from 8th grade. I got to go to that commencement next week.
What grade would Charlie be going into?
Let's see. Jessie's going into her junior year at Mariner High School, and CJ
Oh.
is going. I don't know. He's still in middle school. He's 13. He'll be 13 this year. I don't know which class.
7th grade, probably. 7th grade.
I think he's got leaving 6th, going to 7th. If I'm not mistaken. He's got an award ceremony coming up, and one of the honor rolls or something. They do all that stuff, and I don't know.
Problem is, when a young man turns 13, that's when he begins his brain damage phase, and it lasts till they're about 26.
Well, I've seen some of my daughters hit 13 too, and it ain't much better.
Yeah.
It just depends on what they got going on in their lives. But it's a rough time sometimes for teenagers, boys and girls, or whatever else is out there, however they choose.
Which
to
is
go.
why
But
it's so important to get them involved in the outdoors.
That's
at
right.
that age.
Get 'em-
In
That's
my very humble opinion, get them involved in something, sports, outdoor sports, something. Get them involved.
Well, I will tell. I've raised 3 daughters, still raising one, and I can tell you, for the parents out there, the people who have intact homes, broken homes, those kids respond to the way they're raised. They respond to their environment, to the way their parents get along. There are so many things that people get so caught up in fighting and going tooth and nail against their spouses. Fred deals with this in his career a lot, not in his personal life, obviously, but it's the way you are to your children and the environment they're exposed to, and the hatred or the love or all those things. It directly affects those kids as they're coming up, and it points them in a direction in their life. And I look back and I wish I had done some things better, and I've tried to get better. And whether you have an intact relationship or a broken relationship. And I was talking to a good friend we've been doing some stuff with lately, and I heard him say, well, yeah, we're apart, but I called her mom on Mother's Day and this, and the kids are better off for that.
That's right.
Now it's a hard thing to do.
That's right.
Sometimes, but if you can do it, and I'll leave you with that. Y'all have a great week. We'll see y'all.
All right.